Now, 21-year-old Julia Vandal spent her childhood growing up in Poland, but she has now landed in California with sensational claims that she is, in fact, Madeleine McCann. I'm not making this up. Her story began surfacing on social media earlier this year. I've been tracking it over that period of time. But she's just gone mainstream in the past 24 hours after making a major appearance on the hit US talk show Dr. Phil. Watch this.
I started to ask my mother some questions about pictures from being pregnant and some documents like birth certificate. She always changed the subject. Every child in my country, in Poland, should have child health book, and my child health book, pages 0 to 6, they're blank. When I started to think that I could be Madeleine, I called to the Polish embassy. I called to English embassy. Nobody listened. I want to know who I am, and I want to know if I am Madeleine McCann.
My goodness. So look, as she awaits the results of ancestry and genetic testing, Miss Vandal also suggested she'd be happy to take a DNA test if it was requested by the British authorities, which could be a possibility after The Sun reported that the Home Office is due to approve over £300,000 worth of fresh funding for the McCann investigation, taking the total cost of the 16-year search to an estimated £13 million. So, look, lots going on here, Calvin Robinson, but you want this funding to continue. You think it's right for the case to receive more money.
What? Do you? You do not.
Wait, calm down. My point is that we should always continue the search for lost children. And the question I would ask is, do we do the same for all lost children, or is it just famous cases?
However, look, if you're the McCanns,
yeah,
and you've got a woman like this making these claims,
let's get them on the show. Let's get them on here. Let's give the McCanns a DNA test. Give her a DNA test. I mean, she doesn't look anything like Madeleine.
You want us to remake Jeremy Kyle?
But she has.
Why is it so complicated?
She does have a marking in one.
Oh, she got the birth defect.
Does she? She's got that signature.
Yeah, I mean, look, Amanda. All I think about this, because I have been tracking this woman for a long time. She's blowing up on social media, but I feel very sad for the McCanns that they're now having to deal with this playing out publicly.
Why is it being going on so long?
You just think that if this woman were serious and she believed that she was Maddie, then she would go through the normal channels, because the McCanns are very high profile. You would go, you'd do the DNA test, and you'd sort it out. This is either a woman who really believes, a young woman who really believes she is Madeleine, or she's a cruel witch to put them through this.
But the problem is she's teamed up with a psychic, hasn't she, Rebecca Reid? And that just does make me feel a bit concerned that this could all be a publicity stunt, and that's very sick if it is.
I don't think it's a publicity stunt. From what I've read, they do think she probably was trafficked into the country, and they do think that she probably isn't the biological. This is again what I read. I'm not, but from what I've read, it's believed that she's not the biological child of the people who raised her, and there are massive gaps in her record. So she's not just some insane teenager. But her age doesn't match up either. She would actually need to be older or younger than she actually is. There's a lot of missing pieces.
Dr. Phil is a real professional. Yes, he makes sensational TV, but it was hard for me to get my head around the fact that Dr. Phil would have this woman on for an hour-long special if there was nothing to her case. But Amanda and Rebecca, why were you so quick to turn on Calvin there?
They're always like that.
It just seemed like a weirdly nice sentiment for Calvin that we should look for lost children.
But you don't want this funding to continue.
Look, I just think there comes a point when we've got stretched resources and 70,000, I think it is, kids go missing every year. No one gets anything like
70,000 children.
But most are found very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, OK, right, sorry.
But 70,000 children go missing in this country every year. None of them get the kind of funding that the McCanns do. I've covered this story for years as a journalist. I've written about it. And
do you have sympathy for the McCanns?
Oh, look, I feel desperately sorry for them. You know, absolutely.
Not everyone does, Rebecca.
No, I feel desperately sorry for them. But they made one really bad mistake, which my parents would never have done. They left their kids alone.
Oh, they Everyone did that. My parents
never
it was
did that.
absolutely classic.
Never in a million
Also, it's
years
still
would my
no,
parents
it's
do
still
that.
very normal. Lots of hotels have a baby listening service where you can take your baby monitor and you can go downstairs, have dinner, be on the same compound. People still do it. It's
So
very
what
normal.
is the reason they've had all this funding then? Is it not usual?
Because it's
it's
because it's incredibly high
completely unusual.
profile.
It's because-
and also it's like a sunk cost fallacy, right? Once you spend a certain amount of money, you're like, well, if we find
Rebecca,
her, it
so
becomes
you,
worth
so
it.
you would cut the funding, Rebecca?
I mean, Madeleine McCann would now be like, what, 6 years younger than me? Like, she's old, she's an adult now, pretty much an adult. She would be able
she's the age
to get in touch and say...
special payment for Madeleine when there's so many other kids who are out there desperately needing to be searched for.
And also, if we're going to be heavy-handed about it, obviously, if it was my child, I'd be like, I think we should spend £1 billion finding her. But broadly speaking, the amount of underfunding that means that people's rapes don't get prosecuted, and the fact that we're still looking
Well, yes,
for...
and I guess the point with the McCanns is because of the public interest in the case, they've had lots of opportunity to crowdfund, to raise money over the years, which can be poured back into the case. But, of course, the thing is, as a country, we are invested in finding Madeleine, so I at least want to know that this Julia Vandal, if she's offered, do the test.
Yeah, just
What
do a
you
DNA
have to
test.
do?
Wouldn't it be incredible if that rather large lady who's got blonde hair, so that's the only thing associating her with Madeleine, if she turned out to be the
Well,
teacher?
except her
What
life's
incredible
ruined, their
thing.
life's ruined.
Well,
it wouldn't
it's-
actually make it better for anybody. Everybody is completely screwed by the scenario. Even if they found her, there's so much trauma there, it wouldn't even really be much of a happy ending.
Come on, if it were your daughter and you found
I'd
her
still want
after-
her back.
After all
but,
these
like,
years, you still want her back.
You'd be destroyed.
You wouldn't give her back.
No, we want to
You could
find
still
Maddie.
rebuild your family, couldn't you?
We want to find Maddie, so I think it's
We
very
want to
important.
find Maddie.
It's very important that this woman undergoes the test. So that
Why has it taken so long?
I know, it's bizarre.